3 things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old self about weight loss. I was the fat girl for nearly 50 years. I lost 140 pounds, founded the Eat Like a Bear community. We're about to have 175 people down at least 100 pounds. We're seeing massive success. So what would I tell my 20-year-old self? 3 simple things. Simple but not easy. Here we go. Point 1, approach it like a scientist. And here's where my 20-year-old self is already a little bit offended. Because in my 20s, I was getting my PhD. I'm sure I thought I was approaching all of my life like a scientist. I tried so many diets in the 90s, and like, a good scientist, I would try it, it wouldn't work, and I would go on to something else. But the thing that drove graduate students crazy, and if you went to graduate school, you know what I'm talking about, is when you walked in with like your amazing paper and these findings, and your professor said, why? Why the findings? In all the diets I tried that didn't work, I never asked myself why. Why does that not work? Why did that not work for me? What about it can I change to make it work for me? The diet culture in America is a serious throw the baby out with the bathwater culture, and the weight loss industry and marketers encourage this because they're telling us their thing is our solution. Just buy it, do it. If it doesn't work, it's of course your problem because you're not implementing it right because it's worked for so many other people. That's how they sold it to you in the first place. And the problem's just you, but it works. And so you try it, it doesn't work, you throw it away. And I get it. There's a lot of these things we should throw away, but perhaps we should learn from them first. And this is really what happened to me in 2017. I was deep in my own head. I started 2017 at 280 pounds. I ended 2017 at about 200 pounds and would end up at 140 by the summer. I was in a process deep in my own head to prove to myself that I'd done everything I could do to lose weight. I was to have bariatric surgery in January of 2018. And this was just me proving to myself I tried everything. And so I took the elements of all these diets that I tried, the good parts throughout the bad parts, and I began a process of what I call iteration. And all that means is I started out implementing a specific kind of food model, and I began to tweak it. It was nobody's model. It was nobody's framework. It's just what I'd pulled together from a lot of different plans. And as I saw that it started to work, I of course wanted it to work better and faster. And so I started to make changes to it. And in the process of all those weeks and months of changes, I landed on something that works really, really well for me. It's interesting, we have many people in the community implementing what I do, but I strongly encourage people to use that as a starting place, not as a finish place, and to approach it like a scientist. I'm a 1 meal a day eater, and I eat the ridiculously big salad a lot. But we have people eating more meals, eating meals that look a little bit different, and I think that's great. Why would something that works for me just sort of work for everybody on the planet? I can't imagine that that's ever going to be the case. And so the scientists within us, when we implement this and we say, but wait a minute, this isn't going to work well because I need 2 meals. So then you do 2, and you see how much better or worse that is than 1 meal. And then based on that, maybe you try 1.5 meals, maybe you try 3. Whatever it is that you try, you compare it to your experience, your own experience, and you come to an optimized solution for yourself. Maybe you feel like it's not enough calories. Maybe you think it's too many calories. Not enough? I'd add more. Too many? Eat fewer. Come to an optimized solution for yourself. This is a process I call iteration, a term that comes out of statistics. In a statistical model, you're trying to use the data that you have then to optimize the solution for the model. And that is what you're doing, is you're collecting data about your own self. And you're optimizing. You're optimizing. I just never did that in my 20s. Never did it. Never even thought about it. It just seems so obvious now. And it's interesting because in the process of iterating and optimizing, you really come to own your own experience. I expect we're going to be talking a lot about that in the future and the importance of that. Number 2, and this really piggybacks right on top of number 1, and that is the purpose of this is not to optimize a solution for every single person on the planet. Let all the people on the planet worry about their own optimal solution. In this scientific study, there is a universe of 1, and that is you. Friends and family commenting on what you're doing, so what? Was all of this tested in peer-reviewed scientific journals, double-blind studies, so what? It's an N of 1, and in that universe of 1, are you getting to your long-term goals? That is what matters. That is what matters. What everybody else is doing, what everyone else thinks about it, doesn't actually matter if you were able to meet your long-term goals. Let's meet our long-term goals for optimum health. We regularly have people in social media questioning like various aspects of how we're eating. For instance, so I'm a 1 meal a day eater, which is time restricted eating, also called intermittent fasting. And there are studies that show that, oh, intermittent fasting doesn't work. Well, you're not going to convince me it doesn't work. Now, there were many, many years where I thought it was all stupid and I never tried it. But now that I have, I see the difference in myself. And it doesn't matter to me if a study ever vindicates what I'm doing. I vindicate what I'm doing because I can fit into my genes, and frankly, none of the rest of it really matters. And I know I have so many people in the community who would agree with me on this point. We've seen life-changing results from intermittent fasting. There are reasons for our biology that it works, but also psychology. The studies aren't designed to capture all of that. Bless their hearts, but my genes do, and nothing else matters. And so why spend energy on it? Try that thing. Assess the value of it in your life. Don't worry about all the rest of the noise out there. Who even cares? Who cares? So we're going to be scientists, but we're going to focus on the N of one study, the case study, ourselves. We're going to close our ears off to the noise of the world and just focus on our scientific inquiry. And the third thing, as my skeptical 20-year-old self would say, I don't have any hope because I've tried all these things and nothing works. And I have to know that this is going to work before I start. I had no hope whatsoever. I had zero. I had zero hope. Zero. And you know it bloody worked anyway. It worked anyway. And so I definitely see people in the community, and I understand it because that would be me in past decades. So I see people coming into the community kind of in a frenzy that they need to know every single aspect and that every single aspect works. The reason the 3-day challenge at Eat Like a Bear has been so flippin' successful is because I just say, hey, look, go jump off the deep end and go do it. So what happens is, if you're willing to jump, okay, so that's the thing, you will begin to see evidence in your own life immediately. It's the evidence that you see in those first days and weeks that builds the momentum for success. Hope is great. And we have huge amounts of hope as we see so many success cases coming out of the Eat Like a Bear community. But it's not necessary at all. I can guarantee you that because I had zero. No belief is required. No belief system required in this at all. It's seeing results from the choices that fuel consistent and better choices. That's the key. So if you're analyzing like a scientist, in that great sample of one, yourself, you don't need hope at all, but you do need to be paying attention enough to implement, to iterate, to take that momentum, and to keep going. That's really all you need. Funny thing though, I'm not sure my 20-year-old self would actually listen to my 50-year-old self, so there is that. In any case, check out some related Eat Like a Bear videos where you eat and go be awesome.